Hello, this is Aaron from Lo-Fi and D.I.Y, and I just wanted to show you the basic use of two different types of back that I've made for the Mamiya RB-67. One is a vertical back, that's the one that you see right here, okay, and one is a horizontal back, and I'll talk to you about what purposes they serve. With the vertical back, you will see that I actually have the button off to the side like this, okay, and it ejects straight up. What that provides for an SLR like this is it provides for a proper orientation for the film. The film will actually eject up, which means the heavy border is on the bottom. I personally am not that concerned with it myself, but to a lot of people, they like that traditional look, and that's very appropriate for them. One thing I point out in my other videos, I'll just mention it here. This is my Panda version. I call it my Panda version. I make my prototypes as much as I can. I make them in white. That way I don't turn around and sell them and that I can keep them around for testing. It's kind of like when automakers will cover their prototypes or their early models with tape to kind of break things up and make sure that that's for used for testing in this case. So anyway, so it ejects straight up. Okay, the reason for ejecting straight up in this case is, you see, it actually is using a waste finder, or if you've seen a chimney finder. So this is a waste finder. A waste finder pops up like that, and of course it gives it the clearance to pop up like that. Then looking down through the waste find viewfinder, okay, you can see the glass there, and you can see right through the lens. It's kind of like, for me, you know, it was a little off-putting at first. I got very used to it quickly, but and it can be quite handy. But initially, I was thinking it was kind of like a TLR, SLR. So it was like one of those two lens reflexives where they're one over the other. They always function with a waste finder, and it's an SLR, so you actually get to see through the single lens. But one thing I did find really handy about this sort of viewing is it's perfect for landscape and for distance shots. First off, because you don't have that awkwardness of trying to get it closer to your face to get up on people instead of looking at an angle up at people. You just hold it at your waist comfortably, and it works just fine. It also allows you to really orient the backgrounds, orient the composition in a very natural way. It feels natural when you're doing it because the screen is nice and large behind there. Okay, I'm going to show you how I release this and how I attach it. Okay, right here is the release for the RB-67. Now, unfortunately, these releases are sometimes tricky to get to anyway, and sometimes what I'll use is just like a screwdriver or a key or anything like that just to get that little tab. But you just simply pull it like that, and you lift it right off, and here it is. And this has a piece of film, a pack of film in it. So, yeah, when you're opening and closing this, it's just simple. Squeeze this to close it, and pop this lever to open it. Okay, on the back, we have the battery compartment. Like I said, to the side, it is a momentary switch, and you'll listen to the momentary switch. You can easily hear the sound of the motor and the sound of that clack. Okay, that tells you when the film is ejected. I am very much an adherent of the keep it simple rule, so I don't have all the little micro switches that actually will put it on quote-unquote automatic, which can often jam and cause you to eject your entire pack, and it's very frustrating. So to remove the batteries, it's very simple. Again, this is all very simple. Unscrew this, slide this off, and you can see the batteries right there. Okay, when it comes to the batteries, I've got AAA, because wherever you are on the planet, you can get to AAA. Not always wherever you are on the planet can you get to a charging cable or a charger, and certainly this will outlive anything that has a lithium-ion battery permanently adhered inside. And also another thing I just noticed, for those of you who really do want to go the lithium-ion route, the rechargeable route, they do make AAAs that actually just fit right into the slot, that are lithium-ion, that actually have USB, I think it's USB-C rechargers. So each battery can have a little recharger, so you can actually just charge it up that way. It's quite simple. Okay, when you're putting this back on, okay, we'll just take it right back to that. You kind of line up, you see this gap right here with my pinky finger there, with this area here. And just kind of slide it on like this. There's another way too, by the way. You can take this hole that I'm pointing to with the camera itself, that hole right there, and you can line those two up. So there's two ways you can do that, but otherwise, the awkwardness of holding this and talking through the camera. There we go. It just slid right in there. Then you just simply lock it, and it's good to go. Okay. And of course, then that means that the waist level finder can open and close. By the way, if you have noticed, my Mamiya RB-67 has seen some years and some miles. I basically, because these cameras can be expensive, I hobbled these things together with parts, and I don't always have the highest quality looking camera. I don't mind the scuffs and stuff, but I happen to have quite an arsenal of cameras, so I can't have the best of every single one. But this thing here, RB-67s, for those who are initiates to it, is really a wonderful SLR. And if you haven't done anything with medium format SLR analog, it is, to this day, I think, still the best. And I have an RZ-67, and I have M645. You know, basically, I've got a bunch of different ones. But this is my favorite. It's just a tank. And by the way, with this setup too, this is another thing that might work for you when it comes to ejecting up and using a waist finder. This combination right here is pretty light for an RB-67. Okay, when I have my setup decked out the way I like it, it weighs a ton. So, and by the way, the backs are also reasonably light too. Okay, I'm just going to show you real quick what you will see. I open up the insides, so you actually, I always have trouble getting it to focus. Let's see. I open up the insides. I just took these pictures. They're just test shots, and as you can see, I'm using expired film. The little brackets that you see in the corner are because I open up the inside of my backs to give you every bit of the maximum view that you can with an RB-67. So you'll see some RB-67 back setups that actually have this thick black border around it. For me, I've always gone with this, where you can choose what to crop when you want to crop it, but this is just the mechanicals of the actual RB-67 making those brackets. So you will notice that like I said, the film is oriented and the vertical, it's going up. Now keep in mind though, this is, since this is an SLR that doesn't use all the mirrors that an SX70 SLR uses, this is a mirrored image. Let's see here. Yeah, so like this staircase is actually really there. Not that you can see a staircase in that image, sorry about that. Let me find one that's easier to say. Okay. Okay, yeah, basically just this hill is actually over here. It's a mirror image. Polaroid made theirs so they all had to be bounced off of a mirror in order to project onto the film surface. Whereas Instax projects through the back of the film, and so it actually doesn't behave that way. So this particular camera, it's going to mirror. But as you can see, like I said, it's this orientation. You'll see the little tiny brackets. Depending on how far I'm focused in or out, those brackets will appear. Let's see. I want to see if there's anything. I think I did that with the other one. Okay, anyway, this is kind of just a basic, simple show of what that is. Okay, as far as ejecting film, I'll go ahead and just do that right now, just so you can see. Put in a pack, pretend this has a dark slide. Like I said, I use a lot of expired film because I do a lot of test shots. So you pop that in, and I pinch that shut. See how it just pinched and snapped. And what you do is once you're done taking the shot, or if you're wanting to eject the dark slide, you just simply go. You hear that bzzz, that zit part, you just let go of the button, comes right out, nice even spread, good to go. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and we're going to show you the horizontal, and I'll explain to you why I would even go through the trouble of making a horizontal version. Let's see. Okay. So just go ahead and release this waste finder. Okay. Okay, now this is the reason for the horizontal. This prism finder, it feels like it weighs a lot. It's very, very heavy. But my old school ways of the typical SLRs that I was familiar with when I was growing up, I want to be able to look through as I'm pointing the camera through the lens that way. I want to look that way. Looking down that way feels kind of unnatural, especially if I'm taking pictures of friends, family, pets, that sort of thing. I want to look straight at them through there, and it's also easier for me to track the action. One of the things about a TLR style, or the above style. One of the problems with using like the waste finder and stuff is that the waste finder, you can lose action really quick. And what I mean by that is if you're tracking something, you have to know that in order to track something to your right, it's going to look like it's going to its left depending on how you're moving. The whole deal. It's kind of confusing. And if you've played with it, you know what I'm talking about. So this is the same thing. Let me just go ahead and show that. Okay, right here, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it to where it lines up with that. See, that lines up with that, that lines up with that. It sits right on top of there. I close it. Okay. So now that's in place. Okay, again, I put the ejection button at easy reach with your left thumb. That way, hopefully you can kind of do all of these things at once. You take the picture, you eject, well, not at once, but all these things in sequence with your hands in one place. So you can see it ejects out to the side here. Same thing goes for it. You just simply put the film in, you pinch it shut like that. The batteries are here. There's your injection motor there. Okay, and now let's go ahead and look at some of these images. These are shot to the side, and so you see the white borders on the side. Okay, since this image is practically square, it doesn't matter that much, but it does have a slight longer image there, so it does feel a little bit more landscape-like. Okay, and these are terribly dark. I wish they would lighten up. But anyway, I ended up taking pictures, like I said, with all this expired film, and boy, did it come out dark. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything I can work with. Okay, we're back to this. Okay, so basically, you see the little brackets that happen. Now they're happening on those sides. But you will notice I took one of these. Let's see if I can find it. And I actually cocked the camera. Okay, let's see. Okay, there it is. Okay, I'll wait until it is more visible there. That's one of the things about the expired film. It just keeps getting darker and darker and darker. So it was actually light enough to see earlier on today, but now it's getting very dark. Well, you'll notice the orientation of the house is on the horizon when I have the heavy border down here. In other words, it's in the correct orientation for people who are traditionalists who want this heavy border down here. The way I did that is just a simple quarter turn to the left. That's what I do with my 600 SE, because you can't have a vertical version because it'll run into the viewfinder. But this basically, all you have to do if you want to shoot this, and you shoot horizontal that way, right? But you can just take it, and while you're shooting, and this is a very standard old school trick. I remember we used to do this with cameras all the time. You just basically go like that, and you take your shot. And that way you get that heavy border, but then you can still use the Prism SLR viewfinder. And this Prism SLR viewfinder plus my, I have a, looks like a gun turret sort of handle for it, a really big heavy handle. Combined with the weight of this body, combined with like my 180 lens, starts really adding up. So just an FYI, if you're shooting horizontal and you're really into these prism finders, that's fine, but you will get a workout. Whereas if you're shooting with the vertical, I noticed it's incredibly light and easy to work with, because this viewfinder is really nothing more than little thin pieces of metal. This viewfinder is a giant metal tank full of glass. So this thing is very heavy. That's very light. So okay, well, that pretty much wraps it up for the introduction to the vertical and horizontal RB-67 2i type lo-fi camera backs. Thank you.